Seems like our government's going to give us a little bit of a, I guess y'all going to call it a bailout. It's a subsidy. It's a little bit of a check. It ain't going to be much. It's going to come from some of this tariff money. Thank the good Lord.
So watching these farmers on the internet and in these interviews on these news channels brings one thing to mind to me. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So you mean to tell me you want the federal government to bail you out after you voted the way you voted? You voted for this. Mind you, this freak did the same thing to the farming community the last time he was in office, and you all had to be bailed out. So you want taxpayer dollars to bail you out again when this is what you voted for. The level of delusion and privilege is mind-blowing to me. And then you're upset that people lack empathy for you when you had no empathy for anyone else. You voted the same lunatic in office, and he screwed you the last time, and you're shocked that he's screwing you again. Make it make sense.
So all during the election, we tried to tell the farmers, but they didn't listen. And now that they're at the FAFO stage, they think we should bail them out. Well, Pumpkin, why don't you just pick yourself up from your bootstraps? It would be communist of you to take my taxpayer dollars. Maybe you should have listened to the women who were telling you this was going to happen and done some fucking research. And although now it's a little too late to do anything about it, I advise you still do a little bit of research so you know what's coming down the pike, because they ain't done with you yet. And this comes from Project 2025, by the way, the thing that is almost 50% complete that he denied having anything to do with. But go to your little Google and type in Acre Trader and J.D. Vance. So take that hand that's out asking for my money and put it back in your pocket. You are getting exactly what you voted for. You did this to you. And as far as I'm concerned, you're getting everything you deserve.
Greetings, my lovely people, and welcome back to my channel. So Donald Trump is considering a $10 billion bailout for farmers, especially soybean farmers, using tariff revenue after his tariffs destroyed their livelihoods. So he's using taxpayer money to fix a crisis that he created. And many Americans are furious. They are asking, why should our tax dollar bail out people who voted for their own suffering? And here is the irony. The same farmers who cheered him and waving MAGA flags, calling others socialist, are now begging for government help. Are the same people who said, pull yourself up by your bootstrap, now wants to be rescued. Let's have a look. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing so you never miss any update from my videos.
Republicans are always against the handout until they need one. They voted for this. Everything that Trump is doing, they voted for it. They didn't want to help black farmers. Republicans voted against that. They didn't want people to get student loan debt. They said, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You went out there and you got the loans. Well, they went out there and did what they needed to do. So guess what? They need to help them fucking selves. And I hope the Democrats do not help them get it. More fucking debt for the American people. You're giving them money, then we have to fucking pay for it. Make it make sense, but you don't want to feed people in this country. You cutting fucking food stamps and everything else. Really, people? Y'all got shit fucked up. These people got billions of dollars. They just don't want to fucking spend them, but let's read it. Trump considers $10 billion bailout for farmers as tariffs disrupt the market. Oh well, it's his tariffs, it's his fucking problem. They need to fucking figure it out. Next time they need to start voting with their fucking brain and not voting stupid. They thought they were gonna get all this extra money and bullshit, and they wound up getting fucked over as they deserve it. I don't feel sorry for them.
Like I said before, MAGA, y'all are not smart. Y'all are not smart. I'm not sure why you keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. So you shouldn't get any sympathy. You should not be bailed out. You should sit in it because this is what you voted for. These are your choices. And you can't say you didn't know because he screwed you the last time. But now you want us to feel bad for you, and you want our tax dollars to bail you out. Make it make sense. It makes absolutely no sense. And you should have to sit in it. You should have to deal with the consequences of your choices and the consequences of your votes. Because you knew better. Because he did it before.
Newsmax brought a farmer on to praise Donald Trump's bailout plan. Instead, he tore Donald Trump apart. Now, as you know, right now, Donald Trump's tariffs are destroying farmers. China has not bought a single soybean this quarter, and they're our largest export market. And farmers are hurting, and Donald Trump has a plan to send them some of the tariff money. Well, Newsmax brought a farmer on to praise those tariffs, but it went a little differently than planned.
I'm paying that tariff because my importer, John Deere, paid it. They paid it directly to the Treasury. Now, the President of the United States is going to take my money and give it back to me and call it a bailout? That's just comical.
Yeah, they're going to take my money. My inputs have been raised. I'm paying these tariffs. You're giving me my money back, and you want me to thank you? Newsmax tried to get praise for Dear Leader. Instead, it backfired beautifully. And that is well done by this farmer. Donald Trump is doing nothing to help them, only hurt them, and even they are calling it out.
So I made a video a few months ago about the farmers in Nebraska, and I must have had a lot more sympathy back then because I was cheering for them. Well, now these farmers in Arkansas, I don't care. I don't care what happens. They keep going on TV and crying and saying that they're not going to be able to afford the farm and all this stuff. Well, guess what? Sell your farm, sell it to a big corporation because this is what you did. You voted for this. Honestly, you voted for this. The man has one economic policy, and that's tariffs. What happened last time? What happened last time? We had to bail you guys out, right? That's what happened? Well, what did you think was going to happen this time? Did you think he was just going to do his tariffs and we were going to bail you out again? He doesn't care about you guys. And I'm sure you guys were walking around a couple months ago going, yeah, we voted for this. This is what we want. Yeah, we voted for all this. Yeah. We're not going to bail you out every time you make a mistake. I have no sympathy for people who don't try to help themselves. And you thought nothing bad was going to happen to you because you voted for him, you're his fan, and he was going to take care of you. Guess what? He doesn't give a shit about you.
So I'm just sitting here minding the black business that pays me when I come across this lovely little article here, and I could not help but laugh. I've done couple of videos talking about the farmers here in these United States of America and how they are being ravaged by DJT and his current administration with the dangerous tariff wars that DJT is playing with these people. Now, mind you guys, I don't feel sorry for none of them. 90% of them voted for DJT. And you can't tell me that you did not know that this was going to happen, or you couldn't predict that this wasn't going to happen. This literally happened the last time he was in office, where once again, we, the American people, had to bail your asses out with you and your welfare farms. Yeah, we did that. So there's something a little bit different about this go around, and I'm going to share it with you guys. Imagine you casting your vote for this person. Imagine the bumper stickers, the energy, the time, the effort you went into getting this person elected, only for them to not only play dangerous tariff wars with you in your lives and your money, but turn around and funds your competition. So if you guys don't know, Argentina is one of our soybean competitions. And right now, China right now is getting a majority of their soybeans from Argentina. And for me personally, that would be a slap in my face. But here's what I'm about to do. I'm about to go sleep on my silly Posturepedic, because at the end of the day, I know I'm going to be okay. I ain't got a farm to worry about. This is what happens. We were sounding the alarm. And this is what happens when you simply put profit, when you put hatred and bigotry over human kindness, human empathy, human sympathy. You're going to fail every single time. Y'all have a good night.
So that's what we got for American farmers, is zero empathy. We want them to fail. That's what you're saying out there. That's what Americans are saying right now is well, next time you'll vote the right way, or that's what you get for who you voted for. That to me, I want to say it doesn't sound very American of people, but here lately, that's all we're doing is complaining.
No disrespect, sir, but you are sadly mistaken. The American people had empathy. That's why we voted the way we did. We knew what would happen to the farmers. They told us what would happen to the farmers. We had a previous presidency that showed us what would happen to the farmers. And some of us, not enough of us, voted with empathy because we didn't want to see the farmers lose their farms. We didn't want people to go bankrupt and go out of business. But unfortunately, there wasn't enough of us with empathy to vote in that direction. There were too many of us that voted for other people to suffer and other people to face cruelties. And now you got to suffer the consequences. We can't feed everybody. That's socialism. We can't give health care to everybody. That's socialism. We can't provide student loan relief. That's socialism. But now if the farmers want a bailout, I got news for you. That's socialism. Y'all don't like socialism. So again, my mom said sometimes you gotta let people touch the stove and suffer the consequences. Meet your consequences.
But just let me be the first one to tell you, farmers in general do not want subsidies. We don't want them at all. We don't want these, what y'all call a bailout. We don't want that. We want a fair trade plan, a good market value. That's what we want for our crop. We can out yield any amount of money the government's going to get us. And furthermore, whatever money they give us, 75 or 80% of that is just going to slip through our hands. It's going to pay off our expenses and our inputs, your diesel fuel, your tires, your equipment payments, your fertilizer, your seed costs, chemical costs, labor costs. It ain't like we're just going to get all these checks and just go willy-nilly buy boats and houses and stuff. That'd be a good idea, but it ain't that kind of money. It ain't that big of dollars. We can out yield it. We can make way more money if they'll just get us a good farm bill and get us a good trade plan, in which I don't know what's coming in the future. This might all be worth it in the end. That's just the way it goes. You don't know what everybody's thinking, and I'm not talking right side of the aisle, left side of the aisle. I don't know what's going on up there. I feel like we're going to get us some kind of little subsidy, a bailout as everybody calls it, and I know y'all are going to be all up in my comments. That's all right. I can take it, baby. It ain't that big a deal. But I just want y'all to know, we don't want the subsidy. Yeah, we're going to take it because we need any help we can get, or we're going broke. And when a farmer goes under, if you live in a rural community, when farmers start taking a big hit and going broke, that trickles down into all your small businesses, all your little boutiques, tire shops, grocery stores, gas stations. When we get hit, y'all get hit in these rural areas. I hope y'all having a great day. We don't want the subsidies. Get off my back. And y'all get after it, baby.
Hell, I might lose some followers for this, but I don't really give a fuck. Trump thinks farmers are fucking stupid. And before you lose your shit, let me explain. In retaliation to a trade war that they fucking started, China and other countries are no longer buying crops from American farmers. So what does Trump do? He comes out and says that he's going to use tariff revenue to bail them out. But who pays for that tariff? Oh, that's right, the American taxpayer, because the companies they buy their products from have now passed that cost of that tariff on to them. The problem isn't that we're bailing out farmers. I believe we need to bail them out. We need to support small farmers so they don't have to sell their land to big-ass corporations who will then in turn just own more of our land and more of our food chain supply. The problem is that the American consumer, who are also farmers by the way, cover the cost of that tariff at the checkout aisle and at the parts store. And now the federal government is going to use that money to pay the farmer for the money they lost as a result of a trade war that they fucking started. They are using American consumers and American farmers to solve a problem that they fucking created. And then they're going to stamp their name on it and say, see, we're for the farmer. No, the fuck you ain't. You're just too stupid, or even worse, you think they're too stupid to know that you're the one who created this fucking problem in the first place. Meanwhile, their rich fucking buddies just got even richer because they didn't have to touch that fucking tariff, and we just got fucking poorer.
When is it going to click in that he does not care? I don't think he realizes there's going to be no benefit from this. Because the only people who are benefiting is the government. It's not us. Or he does realize because he did the exact same thing in his first term and people did not learn from that. In his first term, a lot of farmers went bankrupt and lost their family farms and they had to get a government bailout. And now in his second term, people are still losing their farms and they're going bankrupt. Meanwhile, the big corporations are buying up the land that the farmers lost.
Second, we're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, we're going to give it to our farmers who are, for a little while, going to be hurt until it kicks in. The tariffs kick into their benefit. We're going to make sure that our farmers are in great shape because we're taking in a lot of money.
Donald Trump says he's considering giving farmers a $10 billion bailout. And the news media is eating it up. The president of the Farmers Association was on CNN saying we need this money. But what they're not telling you is the president cannot give farmers $10 billion bailout. It has to go through Congress. They hold the checkbook. That's why he said he's considering giving them a $10 billion bailout. He can't do it without Congress's approval. And we on a government shutdown. And I want to see 218 House of Representative members and 60 senators approve a $10 billion bailout for farmers while we're hurting and they didn't want to give us student loan forgiveness. Now, I don't report the news, but Donald Trump got y'all good, farmers. You won't see a dime. Let me say it again, farmers. You're not going to see a dime because Congress is not going to approve it. Follow your boy for more about the government shutdown, Congress, money, farmers, and everything. We on top of it. Come on, let's go.
I say no bailout. We can't bail out Americans protecting their health care. We can't protect them from their Affordable Care Act subsidies. We can't do it on Medicaid. We can't feed our children and others under SNAP and various programs. We have trouble with school lunches. We are cut meals on wheels for the elderly. But again, we're going to send billions to farmers now that Trump's tariffs have cost them their livelihood. I mean, this is so messed up. The tariffs caused all the problems to begin with. Maybe we should cut Trump's salary and all of his administration's salary because they clearly don't know what they're doing. What do you think? No bailout for farmers? What do you think? Cut Trump salaries, all of his employees, all of his administration? Yep, all of them.
You know what really gets me? Trump talking about how we're losing farmers, we don't have enough manpower in the fields. Baby, who do you think was in the fields? Who was farming? Who was harvesting? The people you are sending out. Oh wait, kicking out half our country isn't beneficial?
So if Trump can bail out the farmers because of his terrible policies, how about that he bail out the average American citizen? He can help us out with affordable health care. Because again, it was his terrible policies that is driving up healthcare premiums for 2026.
MAGA thought that Trump's trade wars would punish China, but they're now realizing that they're the real victims, you know? This situation was so predictable. Tariffs don't just punish other countries. They are taxes on the American people, you know? So when Trump slapped tariffs on China, it wasn't China paying. It was American importers, you know? American consumers, American farmers who bore the real cost. So China simply didn't waste any time. They turned on to other suppliers, you know, Brazil, Argentina, while American farmers, they were left with rotting soybeans, you know, debts that they couldn't pay. Now Trump wants a $10 billion bailout from American taxpayers. That's not winning. That's like paying for your own punishment, you know. Politics in America, they are driven by hate, identity, and culture wars instead of logic, compassion, and truth. These MAGA farmers, they were warned that Trump's trade wars would ruin their livelihoods, their businesses, but they didn't want to listen, you know. They voted out of racism and hate without thinking about their livelihoods, and now they are paying the ultimate price. I don't think even the bailouts is going to help them because the markets are gone. Where are they going to sell their soybeans, you know? China already moved on to Argentina, to Brazil, and they are not turning back, you know? You can't start a trade war with China and expect farmers to win. But many farmers didn't want to hear that truth. They didn't want logic. They wanted loyalty, you know. They said that Trump was fighting for them, and they believed that he was going to make America great and rich again, and China will be the one paying the price. And that's why taxpayers are wondering, why should we pay for people who laughed at us when we warned them about what the tariffs would do to their livelihoods, you know? This is painful, but when you vote out of hate, you always end up hurting yourself, all right? So I hope next time they're going to make better decisions, you know, considering their livelihoods, their businesses, not just out of hate or racism, all right? Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Have a good one. I'll see you in the next video.